Hey y'all, it's Christy Cook from Teadoddles, and this is part 2 of my tutorial for my pixel and lace heart cardigan, not cardigan, scarf. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to put the trim on it. I'll also show you a little surface crochet, which is just crocheting on top of the work. I'm using this Heartland yarn from Line Brand. This is called Cuyahoga Valley. That's the color, and I really like the contrast it gives to my scarf. And this is just where I started the first border, and I'm going to show you how I do this, just putting on this single crochet border first, and then I'll finish it up and I'll come back and show you how to do the little lace part that goes around the edge. This is a worsted weight yarn versus the bulky weight that I used for the scarf itself. And I'm also using a 4.5 millimeter hook, which this hook is actually in between the G and H hook in American sizes. It's sometimes called a 7, but G is sometimes a 7, and G tends to be a 4, but I have some G hooks that are 4.25 millimeters. So if you don't have a 4.5 millimeter, you can certainly test out a G or H hook, which would be 4 or 5 millimeters. So which I thought was rather odd, because they do have 0.5 in other sizes in letters for. I don't know why that's like that, but it's just an odd sized hook. So okay, the first thing I'm going to show you is that I joined my yarn up here at the peak of the top heart, and now my scarf, I used 2 balls of the Yarn Bee Alpine something. I'll put it all up here, but to make my scarf. But it's rather long. As you can see, it's a pretty long scarf. You can really make it as long or short as you want, depending on how many hearts you put in there. I just decided to use a skein of each color that I had and make it longer. I tend to like longer scarves. So I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 12 hearts on my scarf. So, and the blog post that goes along with this video will be up by the time this video is up, and it will have all the information for how much yarn you would need. But really, it depends on how many hearts you decide to do. So it'll be based on what I made. And as you can see, I wanted to define my hearts a little more, because the colors that I use were both neutrals and they don't really stand out. So I'm crocheting around the edge with my single crochet, and then I'm doing some surface crochet on the ends of the hearts and then back around. And actually this one goes on the back side, and I'm doing that because when I get all the way to the end of the scarf, I'll come back around and then I'll catch the front or back that I missed on the first way. So I'm doing a kind of zigzag, and then I'll come back up, and then I'll do my lace border. So and you don't have to do this portion if you don't want to. If you use 2 very different colors for your hearts, you may not want that line in between. So you should certainly just do the single crochet around the edges and all the way back up to the top. A little dog hair on here. My dog's hair gets on everything. But anyway, so I've already started here, and I'm going to pick it back up here and show you. This is coming off of a surface crochet. So if you think about how these blocks are made, there's 4 stitches in each block. So you should crochet 4 single crochets across each block when you do this. So when I'm on a chain like this one, you see I've already crocheted through. I hope that is not blurry, but I already crocheted through the first chain, a single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet around the second chain and then through the third chain and then around the fourth chain. And I like to do that just because it helps hold the stitches. But if you don't like, you'll see that your stitches are kind of, it's going to look different because one goes in, one goes out. So if you don't like that, you may just want to do them all either one way or the other. But I like the way that looks. So that's up to you. So next we're going to go and we're going to single crochet. There is a stitch here, but it's covered up by these stitches. So there is a stitch here. So this is one. We single crochet. And then 2 and 3 and 4. So there's 4 single crochets into that little patch, which technically includes that stitch covered up by the stitches from the other block. So that's how I'm doing my single crochets. I'm putting 4 into each block that I come across, whether it's in the side or in the top of the block. So then we're almost to the corner of this heart. So, and then sometimes, because this is a bulkier yarn, you'll notice that right here, there is a stitch. And I'll just put an extra stitch if it looks like it needs an extra stitch. So I'm going to put one there. And then I'm going into this, my chain 4 section now. I'll put a stitch there. Another stitch, one through there, and then I'm starting to be in the corner, so I'll put 2 single crochets in each corner. That's what I've been doing to turn the corner. If you find that that's too tight for you or that it's not turning the corner well, you can always put a space between the 2 chains, or you can just add an extra chain in there. So now I'm kind of on the bottom of a box. So I'm just going to go through that little loop that's left over and do a single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, and then we're to the next box. We'll do another one. I'm not really counting this. I'm just spacing it based on 4 per box for the most part, just to give me an even spacing around the edge of the scarf. So when you see the written pattern, it's just going to tell you to single crochet, to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around is what it's going to say. So when you come along this chain 3 stitch, or if it's a double crochet here, which is what or treble crochet is what it is, I'm putting 4 stitches in each space like that. So, and I'll put a note like that in the pattern. The written pattern will be on the blog. And I do have print friendly on the blog. If you've ever used that, there's a little icon at the bottom of the post, so you could make a PDF of it or print it out. Okay, so now I'm to the next section. I'm gonna single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, 1, 2, and then I'm at this little corner, but there is a stitch there, so I'm gonna single crochet there. So now I'm at the point, let me just spread this out so it's easier to see. I'm at the point where I want to do surface crochet, because I want to go right across the bottom of this heart, just like this. And I'm going to use slip stitches to do that. So I'm going to slip stitch and little stitches right across the border until I get back to this corner. And then I'll do single crochets back down this side. Okay? And so this, if you've never done surface crochet before, this may be a little awkward because when you're holding your work, some of your work is going to be kind of in this hand versus it on the side. So that may be a little strange if you've never done that before, but it's not really hard to do. I'm going to just grab this first little stitch, just a loop. Just look for a loop that you can put your hook through, basically. It's not necessarily a stitch, it's probably the side of a stitch. And then I'll just do a slip stitch. And then I'll go to my next stitch, or my next loop, and do a slip stitch. And that's what I keep doing. I keep going right along that block, making slip stitches. There's no right or wrong. You're just following the loops and the stitches until you get to where you want, because this is the bottom of my box and you can see my little end sticking out. I need to trim that better. But and then when I get right here, I might go under two loops or something if that seems better, and I just pull up a stitch. And see, some of this is where I've woven ends and stuff, so I'm just gonna pick up loops and keep going and with my slip stitches. So you can see, not quite to that peak, but I'm just slip stitching right across the edge, and it's gonna be wavy looking and everything because this is thread, but I mean, I like the way that looks. If you're looking for a straight line, this is not going to give you a straight line because of the way the stitches are, so it kind of waffles in and out with the way the stitches are. So this is going to be the corner of this stitch, and you may find you get hung up in the stitches sometimes. There's another slip stitch, and then I'm just going to turn everything around because I'm going back the other way. Okay, so after I slip stitch that one, I will slip stitch there so I can go back up. There we go. And we're going to go right in here and back up this other stitch. And you can really decide where on the stitch you want the slip stitch. It's really, this is more along the lines of a free-form type crochet, because I'm just adding this to give a border between my hearts. It's not, there's no right or wrong to it. You do what looks the best to you. So in the pattern, it will tell you if you want to do the surface crochet to refer. I'll probably have a little diagram that I kind of show you where it goes. That's going to tell you to refer to this video for instructions on how to do it, because explaining where those stitches go is not an easy thing to do with just words. I will have some pictures on the blog as well, but it's best if you don't know how to do that to just watch the video to see what I'm doing. Which if you're listening to this, you're already watching the video, so. But anyway, I'll put that note on the blog too. So we're gonna keep going right up till I reach this corner. You can see. And this fabric really makes, when it pulls and it makes these little wrinkles, so you can't, it's not as defined as maybe like a worsted weight or something would be with the hearts. And you really could make this out of any thread you wanted to. You're just going to have either smaller or bigger hearts depending on the thread that you use. So I can start going back down this way. I'm going to go into this loop right here and go ahead and do my single crochet, so I can start going down the side. Okay, hopefully y'all can see that, but I went straight from a surface stitch or slip stitch right into the side with a single crochet. And then I'm just going to continue down the side with my single crochets until I reach another corner. And I don't really count this. I just kind of look at it and see, does it look like I need another stitch or not? Because it's really not going to matter. It's in the side of stuff, but my basic thing, as I said before, was 4 stitches per block. So if you want to count, that's what you would count. Like I said, you may have less hearts than I have. You may have decided to not make so many, so you may not need as many stitches as I would. Alright, and I'm at the corner again. I'm going to put 2 single crochets in that corner so I can get around it. I'm just going to keep on going down that side. I'll put one more right here. Alright, yarn. I'm going to have to practice doing this on a flat surface because this is not easy to do. I'm not used to crocheting like this, so. Alright, here we go. I'm going to put one right in there, which is technically that stitch that's covered by those other stitches. And we're going to get one right there. Single crochet, single crochet. Alright, now we're not quite to the border yet. Almost. Quite to the corner, not the border, but here we go. One more, and one more there, and now I'm back to a point where I want to do single crochet. But you'll notice that this, because I'm doing zigzag, the surface crochet I did before is on this side, and then now I'm on the opposite side. And that's how I'm doing it. Because like I said, once I reach the end of the scarf, I'm going to come back up and do the opposite. Because I'll be doing the opposite side, and then I'll come over here and do this, and then I'll do under there. So that you'll have the surface crochet on both sides of the scarf. Because I really would like it to be on both sides of the scarf. And that's an easy way to get all the way down the scarf and crisscross it and come back up the scarf. So when you get to this corner again, I like to put a single crochet right in that corner before I start, and then I'm just gonna start doing slip stitches right across that edge that I want to be the edge of my heart. So there we go, slip stitch, on to the next one. Now this is really easy to do. It's not hard to do. If you've chosen a yarn that blends in like mine, you may have trouble seeing your stitches, but I can really tell by the boxes where I'm at. So I think this would still look good even if your hearts are more contrasting than mine. And this would be great if you wanted to make all your hearts the same color as well. So it just really makes everything pop. And I really like that little pop of color in with all these neutrals. So alright, so there's the start of my surface crochet, and I'll do just like I did on this one. I'll come back up to this corner, single crochet, and I'll keep going until I get all the way to the end, and then I'll come all the way back up the scarf. So I'm gonna stop it right here, and then I'll come back to show you how to do the little lacy loops, which are just chains, nothing too complicated, to go around the edges. So I'll be back in a bit. Okay, I'm just about to turn the last corner and do my last bit of surface crochet. You can see I have it on both sides because I've gone all the way down in that zigzag fashion and come all the way back up. But I wanted to show you a little trick with doing this surface crochet, because on the opposite side, because you can see the stitches from the side, the other side, and if you just surface crochet across, you may see both stitches. You may see the back of this stitch, the front of this stitch on the side, and you still, certain areas where the thread was thicker or bulkier, it still did that a little bit. But I'm going to show you how I do that, what I do to try to keep that from happening. So I'm going to finish up the single crochet, 1, 2 in the corner, then I'm turning the corner, 1, 2, come on, and there's one right there. Like I said before, it's basically 4 stitches per block, no matter what side of the stitch you are in, what side of the block you're in. That's just what I base it on, because they're all turned different ways when you crochet down the side of this. So sometimes you will see the stitches, and sometimes you'll see the side of the stitch. Sometimes you'll see the chain 3 or the chain 4. Man, I want to call that chain 3 so bad. Okay, so we are here at this corner where we're meeting the one we've done the opposite side of. So I'm going to put a single crochet in that last stitch. Well, I'm catching the back of that. Okay, there we go. Then, if you look in the corner, you're going to have a stitch that kind of, where you started your slip stitches, when it turns, and I'm going to slip stitch to that stitch. This just makes that border a little more continuous looking. And then I'm going to turn the work so I can slip stitch over this last heart bottom. First I'll just be slip stitching in the stitches like I did before, and it's really the side of the stitches. I'm going to slip stitch till I get to where I can see the back of the slip stitch on the opposite side. Oh, this thread does not want to cooperate with me. Okay, so I'm going to slip stitch through the back of the slip stitch from the opposite side, if that makes any sense. And what that does is just kind of hold that together a little better and keep your stitches from rolling. And it's looking like you have double stitches on one side versus the other. And then when I get, let's look at this. So I can see the back of those stitches there. So when I get to this portion here, I'll just crochet slip stitch over the top of it, because I can't see the back of the stitches there. So let me pull out some thread. Alright. So slip stitch, one more slip stitch And like I said, there is no wrong or right way to do this. It's just whatever stitch you feel like looks best for your next stitch as you trace along the bottom of that heart. So now I can see the back of these stitches again. So I'm going to slip stitch into them. There we go. Alright, and now I'm going to slip stitch across this little portion. Till I get it around to the other side. And then I can slip stitch in the back of those stitches again. And you don't have to do that, but if you're using a really contrasting thread like I am, you're going to see those stitches. If you slip stitch here, it's going to pull this up, and then you'll see this and the slip stitches on the back. So just joining it with those other slip stitches will help prevent that some. You see here that it's still going to do that a little bit, and that's just the nature of it, right? It's not meant to be a defining line. It just highlights that section across there, and you get some blending of the yarns and everything, which I really like. If you don't like that look, you can join it in a different way. There's no, I mean, you can join these hearts together just like you would join granny squares together, and then just do the border, and you could join it with a contrasting thread, so then you would have the same effect. Like I said, I just like to crochet if I can instead of using my darning needle. It's easier to me to do it that way. Let's see. Put a slip stitch here, and now we're back over here where we can get to that. Come on. And you may find that some of them are harder to get into than others. It just depends on how tight your stitch got pulled when you pulled it across there. But for me, they were really easy to see. And this yarn is this yarn from Hobby Lobby is pretty slick, like soft and smooth feeling, so it's pretty easy to get around stuff. And my fingernail is hanging up in my stitches. Okay, so let's see, one more slip stitch. All right, so let's see. Now you can see how that works, how that's going across, and it is on both sides. So both sides of my hearts are outlined basically. So when I get to this last corner over here, I'm going to turn this around. I need, where did my yarn go? Alright. I'm going to slip stitch into that little stitch, that same kind of stitch. It's kind of turning the corner there. I'm going to slip stitch right in there. I'm going to turn, and then I'm going to start my single crochet down the side again. Single. These are the bottoms of the boxes. 2, 3, and 4. And something to pay attention to. In this area here, my stitches aren't sliding as much because when I put these trebles in, I put one around the chain, one into the chain, and then the other around the chain. That keeps the stitches from sliding so much, and then you'll know where the end of this box is and this box begins. But now I have some that I was lazy on and I didn't, and the stitches tend to slide, and you'll do something like this. So be sure you're not stitching here and then here, because that's actually 2 stitches in the same box. So make sure your stitch is pulled up to the corner where it should be, like that. That's why it's important to keep the 4 stitches per box in mind, so it's easier to tell when you've gotten to the next box. So for this one, I would go around this like that, and then I'm going to go through this one. This 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay. Oh my goodness. Just lovely to have a hangnail when you're trying to crochet, isn't it? Okay, let's see if I get finished with this. Let's do single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to put another one right there in that corner, which really is like 1, 2, 3, 4 for the side of the box. Like I said, if your stitches are tighter than mine, you may want to put a third single crochet in the corner, or you may want to do a single crochet, chain 1, and a single crochet. It just depends on how tight your stitches are. I know in my first pattern, my freeform pixel and lace heart, I used a DK weight for the lace, and there was a much bigger difference, so I had to put 2 single crochet per stitch for that one. This one, really, you should only need 1. So let's get that where we want it. And some of this is thicker because I weaved in the ends. So I'm just making that a little bit thicker than it is normally. Alright, we're almost to the end. I feel like this is taking forever because I'm trying to keep my fingernail out of the yarn. It's very distracting. Okay, we're almost to the corner. Here we go. 2 in the corner, right down here. We're almost back to where I started. Oh my goodness, y'all. There we go. And on the final stretch, I feel like this is looking harder than it actually is because my fingers are not cooperating with me today. But anyway, we've made it back to the very first single crochet, and we're just gonna slip stitch into that single crochet. So that is the first edging, and in the pattern on the blog you'll see that I've given you 2 options for row 1, because this would be considered row 1. Because what I did, as I showed you before, is I went all the way. I would do this, and then this would go on the opposite side, and then this would be on the top, and this would be on the back, all the way till I got to the end. I turned the corner, and I went back the opposite way to fill in what I had left till I got back to the top. So if you don't want to do the surface crochet in between the hearts, you can certainly join your hearts however you please, and even use a contrasting thread if you want, and then just do a single crochet around the whole edge and all the way back around. So that's the 2 options I've given for that border. If you'd like to try surface crochet, this is a good way to try it out. Like I said, I just like to join everything with crochet when I can and not have to do anything with my darning needle besides weaving ends, which that's never fun anyway. So now we're going to start on the next portion of the lacy border, which is simply a chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to skip a stitch. And so the stitch you start in does not count. Well, it counts as the first single crochet, and then you skip the next single crochet and then crochet, single crochet into that crochet, that single crochet. Blech, can't talk today. So it's just 1, 2, 3, skip 1 and go into there. And you just do that all around. 1, 2, 3, skip 1, go into the next stitch, and that's all you do around the whole. And I'm going to go around the border this time. I'm not coming across these single crochet, the slip stitches on my surface crochet, which you certainly could. That would look interesting, but I'm just going to go around the whole edge for this portion, and that's all you do. Just repeat the 1, 2, 3, and then skip 1 and single crochet into the next stitch. Depending on how many stitches you have, you may come up. When I get to the end, I'll show you if I come up with something odd, but it's usually works out pretty well, especially if you're putting 4 stitches in each, because you have 2 stitches per chain basically, because one you start in and then you skip 1, and then technically the next one is the one you start in and you skip 1, so it should work out fairly evenly for you. Okay, so I'll be back whenever I finish this row to show you the next row.